A lot of things have happened in the movie world in the last week, but the biggest has to be Marvel dropping their new trailer for Endgame out of the blue. The trailer has come off a little bit earlier than anticipated. Nevertheless, we will go through it and see if we can nitpick and analyze to understand the context of Endgame a little better. Welcome to another episode of Film Exposay. If you like our videos, do subscribe and give a thumbs up. Don't forget to press the bell icon. This breakdown is rated S for spoilers in case of any predictions made up being right or you have not seen Captain Marvel as of yet. We start off the trailer with a few callbacks. An important thing to notice is that Marvel has kept the color coding from the pictures that they had shown in the first teaser trailer for Endgame. Tony recollects his life-changing event that had happened in 2008 when he was abducted and held captive in a cave. The next shot of Iron Man's helmet referring to the recording for Pepper that we saw in the earlier trailer, hoping to pull off one last surprise, which in this case refers to the promise that Tony made during Infinity War.
Yeah. You know what there should be? No more surprises. You're gonna have a nice dinner tonight.
Obviously, now we know that Tony and Nebula make it back to Earth. We saw them working away at something during the Super Bowl spot. However, it is Marvel and they've tried to alter the trailers in the past to throw off some fans. Then we have a little callback to Cap's first movie before his serum enhancement. We hear the narration from Peggy this time, going back to Winter Soldier. Then we move on to Hawkeye having what it seems like a picnic with his family, giving archery lessons to his daughter, clearly contrasting how happy he was before the decimation. Also a nod to the comics where his daughter takes on the mantle of the Hawkeye. We see him now in a dark, rainy scene, completely different person. Hawkeye has changed as a person, and this change in lighting and setting is alluding to that change in him and what may have caused it. So it's not a huge leap to suggest that his family was taken out by Thanos and that set him off on the path that made him Ronin. Then Black Widow grabs his hand as a gesture of bringing humanity back to him to join the Avengers, kind of giving him a family that could give him a new purpose. Then we have another callback, this time to Civil War, where we see Steve as the pallbearer for Peggy's funeral. Again emphasizing that these moments that it put in the trailer are all defining moments of characters and who they have become as a result of it. I want to emphasize two portions of her narration.
None of us can go back. All we can do is our best. And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
One of them is that we can't go back, perhaps suggesting the time traveling that the Avengers might do in this film. And the other one being the best we can do is start over. If not going back in time, then maybe traveling to an alternate universe, a good way to introduce the X-Men. Then we go back to Asgard where Thor talks to Odin at the end of the first Thor movie where he turns down the mantle of king. Thor describes he saw a lot of people die. This could be referring to the people that died right after Thanos snapped, or the Asgardians that Thanos took out in the first time. Thor is definitely carrying the guilt of not being able to put away, specifically not going for the head of Thanos. He may feel that he should have beaten Thanos the second time around, and if he had done so, not many people would have perished. Then we have the final part of the narration by Cap. This time we're going back to what it seems like the Avengers facility. This is interesting right here as we can see Black Widow has fully grown out her roots, which is red, and can see that her tips are still blonde, showing a passage of time. If you remember from the earlier trailers, there were scenes where Black Widow had shorter hair and was still blonde. This, along with the fact that Cap has shaved his beard, make things a little bit more clear about time passage. Noticeably, some time has passed in between the two scenes where perhaps the Avengers were working towards something, probably some means of quantum intervention. For those who watched Captain Marvel can remember that in the mid-credit scene, Carol returned to Earth asking for Fury. At this point, Black Widow had shorter hair and Cap still had his beard. This is indicative that Captain Marvel joins the Avengers early in the film and we might see a jump to later in time when perhaps Tony arrives. This also provides clarity as we remember from the first trailer, Black Widow was explaining the decimation to someone. And since all the Avengers had taken part in fighting Thanos, this explanation might be to Captain Marvel.
50% of all living creatures.
And then we hear Cap say that he told people to move on and that some did, again hinting what we've seen in the earlier trailers, that Captain America was leading some sort of support group for people to cope with their losses. Kind of similar to what Sam did when he met Cap in the Winter Soldier movie. Then we cut to Ant-Man, and the scene seems to take place right after he escaped from the quantum realm. He's clearly shocked from whatever has been going around him. He seems to be headed somewhere and is clearly disillusioned.
I know you know that.
It's the front door.
That's me. Can you buzz me in?
We see Black Widow firing shots in a similar room to where Hawkeye was a couple scenes ago, so I'm guessing that Jet earlier might have brought Hawkeye back to the Avengers facility and that Cap is having a talk with him. And Hawkeye might answer your questions as to what happens when Thanos snaps right when you're in the middle of a haircut. And referring back to the Quinjet scene, you can see half the buildings do not have any lights. This might just be a coincidence, or this might be because of those buildings not having any occupants, just showing the absence of people and activity after the snap. Then we have some clips of the Avengers in some sort of a battle. I know that Kevin Feige said that the trailer will only feature clips from the first 20 minutes of the movie. However, these clips seem to be likely from the latter stages of the movie. We can see that Cap's face has scorch marks, which seems that he's been battling for a while. We also see Ant-Man flipping pencils on his way, which is most likely from the same scene. War Machine and Rocket also seem to be in the same setting along with Nebula, who seems to be charged up to throw fists. Since they're not wearing any of their quantum suits, it may be outside of the quantum realm part of the movie. It's interesting as to where this is, and clearly due to the pencil and other stationaries around, we can make an educated guess that they're still on Earth, and the debris around gives us a hint that it is near a collapsed building. And then finally, we have a look at our Avengers lineup in the quantum realm suits after 3 different trailers portraying 3 different lineups. The suit looks very familiar to the one that we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp. The color coding especially is interesting. If we call back to the earlier scenes of the trailer, you'll remember that the scenes were black and white with red. Suits are white and red. Maybe, just maybe, this is some clue that the Avengers are going to go back in time to those particular scenes, or that the suit is something that would allow them to go back in time, or to another dimension. We see that Tony is back with the Avengers, and they all seem ready to walk into somewhere, perhaps the quantum tunnel gate from Ant-Man and the Wasp. We, however, don't see Hulk, Thor, or Captain Marvel in this scene. This could just be another case of Marvel trying to prevent spoilers about the movie, or perhaps this might mean that the 3 might go on a separate mission and might not follow the rest of the Avengers into the quantum realm. Then we have the last teaser scene like Marvel usually has, with Thor kind of testing Captain Marvel, in a sense.
I like this one.
We go back to Black Widow having shorter blonde hair, which means that this scene is taking place soon after the mid-credit scene from Captain Marvel. Thank you for watching this trailer breakdown from Film Exposay. Leave your questions and comments down below. Do you think time traveling will play a big part in the upcoming Marvel movie? If so, why?